Apparently, Miami isn't done trading some of their star players. One other face of the franchise could be on the chopping block here soon. The Dodgers, they have like 8, 9, 10, 11, 15. I don't know how many stars they have, but Ohtani is the brightest, and man, their lineup is stupid. The former Dodger, Corey Seager, he hasn't really been himself to start 2024, so he's just praying that this ball leaves down in Oakland and the Rays. Yeah, they're never allowed to take off these magical and borderline lucky uniforms. All of that and more in today's MLB Recap. We recap every single game, every single day, so don't miss out. Join the team, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to use code Fuzzy on SeatGeek to save 20 bucks off all of your tickets. And my code Fuzzy on Underdog Fantasy will get new users up to a $100 deposit match. They got specials every single day, playoff basketball, baseball, you name it. They got it. So like I mentioned in the intro, the Miami GM has been pretty steadfast in his idea of the future of the Marlins. We'll talk about that in a second. Walker Buehler, Butane, he was out there for the first time since 2022 in Miami, welcomed him back by scoring 2 runs on a few singles. Brian De La Cruz, he ripped a fastball, and Jesus Sanchez, he went hacking on a curveball. They both knock in one, but there was a silver lining. Buehler was throwing 96, 97, so those early runs don't really matter, especially when he has a lineup like he does. Mookie Betts took a walk, and I wish I could play the sound of this home run. The best way that I can describe it is the intervention sound from Modern Warfare 2. Ohtani's up to 11 home runs. Freddie then makes it back-to-back. He's trying to get back into the 300 batting average club. He's slumping with a 292 batting average. It was a home run derby early on. Nick Gordon of the Marlins, he got in on the action. I was shocked to see that he has 5 home runs and 16 RBIs, but a brutal negative 0.7 WAR because the defense has been awful. Now, I do want to show this. Walker Buehler, that's his first strikeout since 2022. Painted 96 on the corner. That'll play. The Dodgers, they flexed their pop again in the second inning with James Outman connecting on a long 437-foot 2-run blast. Teoscar didn't go that far, but his third home run of the homestand gives him 9 on the year. Vesia, he converted his second save of the year. The Dodgers are on another wavelength right now. They've won 5 in a row. They have the biggest division lead in all of baseball. Before we talk about the Giants and how disappointing they've been, Marlins GM Peter Bendix was asked about Jazz Chisholm Jr.'s future, and he said he does not know what to expect. If I'm a Marlins fan, I'm freaking out right now. What do you mean you don't know what to expect? You're the GM. It's up to you. Jazz Chisholm Jr. has 4 home runs and 8 stolen bases, and the biggest part about what he's done in 2024, he stayed healthy. I don't know, man. Like, the Marlins made the wild card series last year. I know they got beat by the Phillies, but now they're one of the worst teams in baseball. Peter Bendix, the new GM, he does not control injuries. I feel bad that his tenure has started with everyone getting injured, but right now, his plan on paper, maybe it makes sense for the long run, but trading away Luis Ariz and Jazz Chisholm Jr., that would be tough for a fan base to swallow. I mean, who knows? Maybe tanking is officially on the table for the Marlins. It worked for the Orioles. It worked for the Astros. Maybe tanking is the goal. So we talked about how the Dodgers have the biggest division lead in baseball, and that's mainly because the Giants have been one of the most disappointing teams in baseball to begin the year. Giants rookie Mason Black, he was making his MLB debut, so maybe a fresh face can bring a fresh start. Look at him go. He gets back-to-back strikeouts of Realmuto and Harper to end his first big league inning. He's facing Zach Wheeler, so he's got to stay locked in. Walking 2 to begin the 4th is not locked in, and that's why Whit Merrifield, he can still swing it. Black, he did a great job to limit it to just 1 run. All while Zach Wheeler and the umpire, they were having a great time. These pitches were a good few inches off the plate, but he gets Yaz and Fitzgerald on some very generous calls. Strikeouts 8 and 9 for Wheels. The 2-timer's up now. He's got 2 on, and the batting gloves, they were back on. It worked. He went no gloves for the first at-bat, hated it, went back to the gloves because he loves to switch things up. He's got 8 home runs and 24 RBIs while kind of slumping. Nick Castellanos knocked Mason Black out the game on an RBI double to center. His family was in attendance. They were pretty much cheering and telling him to hold his head high. I mean, he struck out Realmuto and Harper back-to-back in the first. I know he got knocked around, but that's pretty sick. Anyway, Schwarber, he blasted off for the 9th time. The Phillies are undefeated when facing an NL opponent. They're perfect 11-0 versus NL teams, and they've won 10 straight at home. On top of that, they're now the first team in baseball to 25 Ws. San Diego is trying their best not to fade into oblivion like the Giants or the Diamondbacks. Both of those teams are now 8+ games back. Justin Steele is finally off the IL, so it's not going to be an easy time for the Padres. Steele is painting. He got Tatis on that dot. Cubs fans knew he was on a pitch limit, so you got to be encouraged nonetheless. He only goes 4 2/3, but it was 4 2/3 shut shutout. He had 2 strikeouts. I mean, he was right in line to win the Cy Young last year, so that's a big-time add back to the rotation along with Shota Imanaga. Yu Darvish was very good as well. He went 1-2-3 in the 5th inning. He's out after 5 shutout with 5 strikeouts. Jurickson Profar, he's doing ungodly things this year. Like, who is this man? He adds 2 more RBIs on a single in the 6th. He's up to 25 RBIs and an insane 341 batting average. Xander, he singles, and Profar, he scores easy on a Donnie Barrels RBI knock. That's Donovan Solano's nickname, by the way, which is funny because he's never really been a high barrel rate guy, but he just knows how to hit. Same thing for Luis Campusano. He doesn't crush baseballs consistently or wow you with the barrel rates, but he simply puts the ball in play. That's a perfect swing. He clears the bases on a double to right field. That's exactly what you're supposed to do with that pitch. The Cubs, they power swung their way back into this game. Morel, he's up to 8 home runs. Yan Gomes then made it a save situation. Robert Suarez, he's licking his chops. He did what Josh Hader would never do. He went multiple innings. So he strikes out Yan Gomes, then got Nico Horner to pop up, so the 8th is over. He then got 2 more Ks in a 1-2-3 9th inning, make it a 5-out save for his 11th save of the year. Josh Hader, who? The Cubs and the Brew Crew are neck and neck in the Central. They're both tied for first place, so if Milwaukee wins, they're back in the driver's seat. Cole Reagans, he absolutely shoved for the first 3 innings. He set down 10 in a row before Adames. He ruined the streak. He singled up the middle, and then Gary still has some of the fastest hands in baseball. El Kraken turned on 95 inside. He went 430 feet. A Brewers fan caught it and then immediately started flapping his arms and then gave a shout out to Sketch, the what's up, brother guy. Okay. Bryce Wilson, the former Pirates and Braves bust, is having a much better time with the Brewers. Check out his stuff. The fastball sinker had a ton of horizontal movement, and his off-speed pitches did a great job at keeping Kansas City off balance. He's out after 6 shutout. He only allowed 1 base hit. He had 6 punch-outs as well. And of course, as soon as he leaves, the Royals, they get on the board. Michael Massey's stats went from, how is this guy in the big leagues, to, oh wow, he can kind of hit. He's raised his OPS by 300 points. He's hitting .444 with 2 home runs and 5 RBIs to start the month of May. Michael Massey, more like Michael Macy, because he's raking in May. I'm so sorry. The Royals, they ended up loading the bases, and Adames, he probably doesn't get Blanco out anyways, but Michael Garcia, he showed off the clutch genes again. He singled up to tie it, but Blake Perkins, he botched the scoop, so the go-ahead run actually scores as well. Perkins, he's beside himself. He's kind of hitting himself. Chris Stratton is now out there for the save. Scary Gary is up with the runner on. That's a ground ball to Bobby. Book it. Stratton now has 2 saves on the year. That's just no bueno for me because I need as many Royals losses as I can. If you're brand new, I am a Cleveland fan, and I don't like that either. Riley Green, he went yard before I could sit down with my caffeine-free Diet Coke. Like, how could he do that to me? Riley now has 9 home runs. He's a legit star. He also plays great defense with 2 outs above average. Jack Flaherty has looked very good this year, but he gave up the lead in the next half inning. Will Brennan, he's coming alive. He's got 4 home runs, 7 RBIs, and an 850 OPS over his last 56 at-bats. Naylor, he made the final out in the 3rd, so the rally is over. Kids, don't do that. You don't make the final out at 3rd base. But you should do this. Pitch like Tristan McKenzie. You don't need to throw 97, 98 miles an hour every single pitch. Hit your spots, and if solo home runs happen, fine, but limit the walks. We skip to the 6th. J-Ram, he's up. Flaherty's still on the bump, and he's going to take a tough L in this one. Jose now has a home run in back-to-back games. He's got 7 home runs and 28 RBIs. The OPS plus is finally back over 100. Emmanuel Clase had a perfect 9th inning. He lowers his ERA to 0.49. He ties Robert Suarez for his 11th save. That is number 1 in baseball. His cutter usage has jumped 10%, while his slider is down 10% as well. I thought that he would increase the slider usage, but I guess when you throw 102 with movement, maybe it's best just to do that. The Guardians win their 3rd game in a row, and Minnesota, they're trying to start another win streak after their 12-game win streak was snapped by the Red Sox. The Jays, they chose Alek Manoah over Simeon Woods Richardson, which is crazy to say out loud because hindsight is 2020. That might have been a mistake. Simeon struck out Josh Rojas and J-Rod. They then gave Jorge Polanco some time to get his current call in. He was traded from the Twins. I think he spent 10 seasons there. Simeon Woods Richardson, say that 10 times in a row. God, that is hard. He locked back in after the short delay, and he struck out Polanco, so he strikes out the side in the 1st. Luis Castillo of the Mariners, he retired 12 in a row before getting into some trouble in the 5th. Correa, he finally got his first career base hit off of Luis Castillo, so it's 1-0 for Simeon Woods, and it stayed 1-0 because this dude allowed 1 hit over 6 shutout. He struck out 8. He's allowed just 4 earned runs in his first 4 starts, so he's sitting at a 1.74 ERA. Also, he has not allowed a home run this entire year. Griffin Jax is back to being a setup guy now that Johan Duran is back in the closer role, and he ruins the W for Simeon. Another former Twin, Mitch Garver, he played there from 17 to 21. He tied it on a sac fly. Now, lucky for Griffin Jax, his blown lead is going to be forgotten about. He can thank Christian Vasquez and Manuel Margot for that. Vasquez had an RBI sac fly, and Manuel Margot reaches on a slider. He puts the Twins up 3-1. His RBI knock raised his batting average to 180, so he really needed that. You could tell, like, he's been struggling just by the way his teammates are cheering for him after a single. Minnesota played the matchups. They deployed Johan Duran in the 8th. He strikes out J-Rod for a 1-2-3 inning, and then Caleb Thielbar, who's really struggled this year, he did the same thing in the 9th. A bold move worked out. Thielbar, again, he's been roughed up, but the analytics won, and maybe Caleb is going to have some added confidence for the next few weeks and the rest of the season. I mean, it was a bold move not to use Duran in the 9th, but again, it worked. Wait, so the Mariners lost. That means that Texas can regain sole possession of first place, but they got to face off against the mighty A's. J.D. Davis led off the second with a single, and then Abraham Toro blistered one up the middle. Shea, he flew out, so that flyout got J.D. to third. So now my friend Darrell Hernandez is going to get a chance. He got robbed. The expected batting average on that was .950, so he got robbed. And by the way, that ball hit JD on the helmet on the fly. Ezekiel Duran almost turned a sick double play. So again, it's 1-0. And maybe Duran used up all of his web gem skills because he dropped a can of corn. There was more outfield miscues from Texas. Leote and Adolis, they did not communicate. So Brett Harris, he's handed a free base hit. JJ Bleday moves to third, and Este, he just barely missed the home run by a few feet. So the A's, they scored their first 2 runs on sac flies. Leclerc, he made some random Ranger history. Jose struck out Brett Harris in the 7th to give him 394 strikeouts. That is the most ever by a Ranger reliever. I thought it was for sure going to be Neftali Feliz's record to break. Remember that guy back in the day? The A's are trying to get the ball to Mason Miller, but Lucas Erceg, who has been dominant all year, he had his first blow-up appearance. That's what Rangers fans have been waiting for all year. Corey Seager is only hitting .220. That's just his 3rd home run, but it's a big one. We had some plays at first base. Tyler Nevin, he Olayed a Travis Gronkowski swing, so it's 4-2 Rangers now. Then the other first baseman, Nathaniel Lowe, he got a rocket line drive to his left, so he can just take 2 steps and end the game. Kirby Yates has 6 saves, and the Rangers, they're back in first place. They've won 3 in a row. They're the first team in the AL West to 20 wins. The Halos were the first or maybe second team in that division to 20 losses, and there seems to be no end in sight. Edward Olivares reminded me that I was right to call Tyler Anderson a thief for stealing money from the Angels. Anderson now has a 4+ ERA and an almost 6 FIP over his last 5 starts. He's just walking everyone and not doing himself any favors. Angels fans, they're about to be even more upset because Mickey Moniak hit the gap, and Nolan Shanuel, he probably should have scored, but he forgot to slide. Even Taylor Ward was like, bro, what are you doing? I was telling you to slide, and he got tagged out instead. Good for Zach Neto. He gave Angels fans something to cheer for. That's his 3rd of the season. He also has 5 stolen bases and 4 DRS, so the kid can really play. He just has to get that batting average up there. Mitch Keller, he made it tough on the other Halo hitters. He turned a few double plays, then he made a beauty of a play off the back foot to nab the speedy Joe Adell. Keller, he's out for a complete game. He froze Ward for a strikeout, and that'll do it. Willie Calhoun, he flies out to end the game. That is the 2nd career complete game for Mitch Keller. So a few days after Jared Jones strikes out 10 over 7, Keller throws a complete game. So what's the holdup on Paul Skeens? Here's the holdup. If they wait until June, they get 1 extra year of control. Paul Skeens would get 4 years of arbitration, not 3. I mean, for a team that is on a 3-game winning streak and they're only 4 games back, you would think that they would have their best team in the big leagues. No, they got to manipulate that service time. It's smart, but it's also kind of scummy in my opinion. So we had a fun start to this Sox and Rays game. Josh Lowe, he's finally back from the IL, and he singled in his first at-bat. Nothing came of that, so we skipped to the second, where Johnny DeLuca delivered again. He walked off the Mets a few days ago. Now he's driving in 2 off of Mike Clevenger. That's 8 RBIs over his first 4 games. That's insane for a 9-hitter. 1 more scores after Yandy legged down RBI groundout. Tommy Pham is facing off against some of his former teammates. He was on the Rays from the second half of 18 all the way until 2020. He pelted an outside 4-seamer for a 2-run off Otako. That's his second. Harold Ramirez, we call him hard-hitting Harold, but now that he's got those glasses, maybe he's handsome Harold Ramirez. His single up the middle made it 4-2, and fast forward to the 5th, catcher Ben Rortvedt, he singled the other way, so it's 5-2. Wait, did Johnny DeLuca go yard? That's 10 RBIs. He's the first Ray to ever do that. The Glasnow trade is actually looking like a win-win. The Dodgers get Tyler Glasnow. The Rays get Pepio and DeLuca, who have been really good to begin the season. The Rays, they can't ever not wear these jerseys. They've won 4 in a row. So this is crazy. DJ Stewart has 16 RBIs after knocking in Francisco Lindor, despite the fact that he's hitting 190. That is the most 2024 baseball sentence I can possibly say. The Mets are up 1-0, and look at Jeff McNeil running over in left field to make a diving play. He's a Swiss Army knife type of player. Starlin Marte, he did his job perfectly in the 5th. The runners were at 2nd and 3rd, so not only does one score, but it also advances that runner from 2nd to 3rd. So that means this pop-up can turn into a sac fly, and it does. Brandon Nimmo scores. But here comes the Cardinals. They put on their rally caps. Wilson Contreras ripped a double down the left field line. Fermin scores from first base. 2 are now on for Ivan Herrera, who split the gap. Goldie, he was on first, but he's running on contact because they're 2 outs. He's also going to score. But like we saw earlier in the Cleveland game, you can't make the last out at 3rd base. It worked for Cleveland. Luckily, they did win. Yeah, Ivan tied it, which was cool, but he also ended a rally. So now this solo home run from Brandon Nimmo can basically win the game. He did that off of Andrew Kittredge, so he took all of the air out of that place. I mean, Kittredge has been dialed in. That's the first home run he's allowed all year. The Mets are now up 1, and Edwin Diaz, he shut the door in the 9th for save number 5. Sugar now has a 2.4 ERA and 22 strikeouts in 14 2/3. That's him during a slow start. So between Freddie Freeman, Bryce Harper, Edwin Diaz, Jose Ramirez, these guys are probably in slumps for their standards, but their slumps are career best for everyone else. Wow, it's really dark in my room, but hey, that does it for today's MLB recap. I wanted to show myself real quick, say thank you so much for all of your support, and enjoy the web gems.
Ground ball back toward the middle. Stott diving plays, got it. Flips to second for one. Over to first.
Triolo with a low liner towards center. Coming in, long run. Moniak slides to make the catch.
National League last year. Grounds that one. Bush will take it himself. Gets it to Lovelady.
Will Smith, line drive, center. Jazz dives it.